Okay, interesting news involving Major League Baseball today, and it affects both the Cardinals and the Royals with their TV deals, essentially, with Bally Sports, and which is owned by Diamond Sports. And Diamond essentially saying, because they're in a bankruptcy case right now, and today they announced that it was reported a little bit incorrectly at first, but they eventually got it right. The folks did a nice job with getting us the information we need on this. But essentially, Diamond Sports is dropping a bunch of teams and only keeping like the Braves for like their TV contract for sure.
So that's originally what was reported, and it was like, okay, everybody's just kind of on their own. Evan Drellich originally had the report. He corrected that report after additional information came out. It was the interpretation of this bankruptcy hearing, this court filing, where they said, yeah, all the MLB whatevers are being dropped except for the Braves, but there are a bunch of teams, including the Cardinals and the Royals, that don't fall under those terms. They're referred to as joint venture teams. I believe, at least in the case of the Cardinals, that would be because the Cardinals have a stake, an ownership stake in the Bally Sports Midwest. So, like, that might be part of the reason that that's not the same situation. However, as for, okay, what does that mean for 2025 and where are the games going to be broadcasted? I think essentially what Diamond Sports wants with those joint venture teams, which include the Angels, Reds, Cardinals, Royals, and Marlins, is to come back to the negotiating table and say that deal we agreed to pay however many million for the Cardinals. I think it's between 60 some odd and 70 some odd million for the season. We want you to renegotiate that. We're not broadcasting your games under that deal that we agreed to. So there is still some murkiness. This morning it seemed very clear, like, oh, the Cardinals aren't going to be on Bally Sports anymore, and this new thing is going to have to come now. Which Bill DeWitt III, and we didn't bring it up in the midst of everything else we talked about from Monday's press conference, but he did say he expects there to be a way for next season for the Cardinals for you to pay for a service that's on an app or whatever and watch the Cardinals. Now, whether that means still including blackout restrictions, not including blackout restrictions anymore, I don't know. I don't know if they for sure do. If they do, they haven't announced all of this yet. But he did say that as far back as Monday before all of this took place. So that told me, okay, the Cardinals are at least kind of aware and they've been prepping for the possibility of something like this. But also, do they want to have to house and produce all of their broadcasts?
Right.
Because Bally Sports has been doing it. They have that agreement with them, but if they don't anymore, let's say they go, we're not going to renegotiate a deal that we agreed to. You agreed to it, pay us. If they go, no, we're not taking less money, because they're like, we're prepared to do our own thing, then they can do their own thing. Maybe they hire all the same broadcasters. Like, that stuff may or may not change. It could all end up being the same. But, like, what's the appetite for the Cardinals to do that? Because you have to then take on the risk of, okay, what are we getting out of it? We're paying people to do the jobs and produce the games. We're doing it all ourselves. But what are we getting for it? Well, you're getting whatever that monthly subscription rate is, and however many 1,000, 100,000, million people sign up for it. That's your revenue off of that thing. But it's a lot more work than just having a middleman essentially do it and pay for the right to
chance
get
to do
it.
Yeah, exactly.
But Bally Sports and their parent company is saying, we're not doing that this year. We will still keep y'all, but we got to renegotiate the deal. We're not paying you as much as we were supposed to pay you. And, like, if I'm the Cardinals, I go, sayonara, like, peace out. This is our chance to now have our streaming rights and be able to offer that direct-to-consumer product that a lot of fans have been saying, especially if it means that the blackouts wouldn't apply, because fans anywhere could then sign up and they're watching Cardinal baseball.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know the legality or the rules around that as it pertains to MLB. It's MLB's blackouts. Are all the other teams going to say, that's fine, we can stop these blackouts? Because the Cardinals are a team that doesn't want the blackouts because they've got fans scattered all over. They want you to be able to watch in Iowa and in Oklahoma and anywhere you want to watch. Those are the areas that are kind of dead zones where fans, for whatever reason, are blacked out from a number of teams, Cardinals among them. I feel like the Cardinals would be on board with get rid of those blackouts. I don't know that all the teams feel that way. I don't know if that's something they can do as early as 2025. So it's still a little bit up in the air. If the Cardinals aren't quite ready to take this endeavor on themselves, and they're not sure that they're going to be able to get an Amazon or a Hulu or a Google to give them a new contract that's just as good or better than the one that Bally Sports is saying we can't pay it, then maybe they do go back to the negotiating table with Diamond Sports. But that would be like, this thing is failing. It's a matter of when is it going to fail, and do you want to have to continue to be in bed with this company that is not the best thing for the growth and advancement of your product? I don't know how the Cardinals are going to view that, because maybe this is happening a little earlier, Andy, than they anticipated it happening. They would have been content to have Bally keep paying them what they agreed to pay them for the next couple of years, and then, okay, eventually the well's going to run dry and we'll have to do our own thing. I think the Cardinals were prepared. I don't know that they were super prepared for it to happen right this moment. But then again, like if you heard Bill DeWitt, the third talk on Monday, there does seem to be an acknowledgement of, we're trying to get up to speed on a direct-to-consumer product. Whether or not the Cardinals are the ones that produce that in-house, I guess, is what still remains to be determined.
You there either have to find somebody to do it, or maybe they don't have the leverage that they would want to have with Diamond Sports and say, all right, well, you guys can do it, and we'll renegotiate a different number. I would like to think that the Cardinals have the ability, though, to make that a lot easier on the fans, and see whether they can create that streaming service to allow, again, because they are not the same type of market as even teams like the Orioles or the Mets or even the Nationals, because there's such a small footprint of where those fans are compared to what the Cardinals have. And
the Cardinals have Middle America. Like
exactly.
They have the
right.
They
and
have
as
it
do
all.
The Royals too. Like the Royals also have a similar type of vast geography of where their fans are coming from. So both of those sides, in fact, I know the Royals are more worried about being in a playoff game right now. But I mean, at the moment, you do have to kind of realize where things are going, and hopefully the Cardinals can stay out in front of that. I think bottom line, this all has to lead to a road where Major League Baseball just steps in and makes this uniform across the board. Like, just have a way to get the local games for everybody available pretty much the exact same way. There are leagues that do this now in North America. No, it's not the major sport leagues, but, I mean, this is how you can essentially evolve with times because of cutting the cord and everything like that.
But the problem is, though, the teams that have already been out front of it, like the Yankees have their own network, the Cubs have their own network. They're not part of this regional sports network issue anymore, and those clubs are making revenue because they've got their own thing. And the Cardinals need their own thing. I don't know what their appetite is to do it now. I don't know, because that's overhead. You got to make all those personnel decisions on broadcasters and all those things. Like, they probably have some input because they have a stake in Bally Sports Midwest, but it would be on a different level that they would then be responsible for everything that goes on. And if you're getting paid handsomely to have somebody else do that, then that's great. Like, why? That's not a problem for the Cardinals until that entity says we're not paying you anymore, even though we agreed that we would. We're bankrupt. Sorry. And that's kind of where it's at. So what's that percentage of the Cardinals going, we'll take X percent less just to where we've got more time to figure this out for like a long-term solution, versus, nope, this is our out and we are eager and ready to do our own thing, even though it's going to mean less revenue at the beginning. It's going to mean less of a profit at the beginning because it's going to take time to build up, and we got to make sure we unroll it properly so that whatever price point we set for this, fans are going to be willing to pay it. Do you want to do that during a period where you're telling fans we're not going to be very good because we're not spending on the payroll? Or do you almost have to do it that way because the lack of revenue from the TV stream is going to show up in the upcoming payroll? And it kind of, even though they're saying we're going to cut payroll because of this other stuff, we've got to do a better job of player development, we're going to put our resources toward that instead. This other thing is also a reason that the numbers aren't going to match up. When the Cardinals, and we'll never know the exact figures, Andy, but when the Cardinals invest an additional $15 million in their technology and minor league coaching and infrastructure, but their payroll goes down by $60 million, you're going to go, well, why isn't that the same number? You're just getting off easier. Well, it's because the $60, $70 million they thought they were going to get from TV is not going to be there. It's either going to be a fraction of that still involved with Bally Sports on a renegotiated deal for the year, or it's going to be we're doing our own thing, but that's going to take time to build up, and we're not going to expect revenue or profits from that in year one. That's the rock and the hard place the Cardinals are in. They might well know exactly how they want to handle this. They've just not made it public. So I'm left to speculate, but I think that's how it sort of breaks down.
875 KTGR. How would you want to see Cardinals games this year? I mean, it seems that Bally might be going away. I'm sure most folks probably don't care where it is. They just want to have it be somewhat available to them. And if not, like, it does depend. Like, how much are Cardinal fans wanting to pay for the service if they're a little bit outside the area and they're like, okay, if it's free in St. Louis, great, but if not, is this worth it to me?
So, like, free in St. Louis would be a local TV channel, like your news channels, coming up with an agreement for that. I work with one such channel. Channel 4 in St. Louis is who I do my writing for. But, like, that's going to cost money. Like, that's going to cost money from those businesses to have the rights, the local television rights, to broadcast Cardinals games. And so, like, you could, if you're the Cardinals and you come up with a local station that's willing to do that, you make money from that as the Cardinals, if they're willing to pay it. And look, for them, they obviously get big-time viewership, advertising dollars, all that's going to be able to come in, and so that's why the agreement and the arrangement could work. And then if you're the Cardinals, you could additionally do this streaming option, but is that streaming option going to be only for people who are out of market? Will blackout restrictions still apply? Because that's not a Cardinals rule, that's an MLB rule.
Yeah.
So do the Cardinals unilaterally have the ability to kill blackouts? They do not, as far as I understand it. So there's still a lot that we don't necessarily know, and the Cardinals could be in a spot where until they know for sure that they're going to be able to do all of the things they want to do, make sure anybody who wants to watch Cardinals games can pay this monthly fee and they get to watch it, the Cardinals might not be ready to go, yeah, let's jump in to do our own thing when we know that we're going to be cut off at the kneecaps because the fans in Iowa that want to pay won't be allowed to if they don't, on an MLB level, change the blackouts and everything. The other question is, if you're somebody that has a cable subscription to get Cardinals games now, you might be paying $80, $90, $100, $110 a month for cable, and you legitimately might only be doing that because you want to make sure you have access to the Cardinals games, and you're a little bit older, and you don't know how streaming works, and it's just too overwhelming to try. So if the Cardinals are going to offer it to you, don't think it's going to be the price of a Netflix subscription necessarily. They might be able to pump that up a little bit higher because they know that a lot of the people are currently paying $100 a month, and they only have cable because they want Cardinals games, and so we're going to make you pay $35 or $40 a month during the season, and you're going to pay it because you're going to be able to get rid of cable that you don't use anyway outside of watching live sports.
Yeah.
Like, this is where we're at, and we've been approaching this point for a long time. We're finally almost here, but we're still kind of being drugged by our toenails to get to the end result that we're all kind of waiting to see how it plays out.
Tim texted in, as Cardinals fans, all we want is a reasonably priced in-market subscription. $100 a month is not reasonable. Until it's a better price, I will keep using my out-of-market friend's account and a VPN. So,
I don't think anything. Well, I was going to say $100 a month, but that's if you're getting cable. And
right? Yeah,
it's included in that. They have to be able to separate it out. It'll kill cable, but cable deserves to die if it's being subsidized by just having live local sports be the thing that people buy you for.
Right.
You're not. It doesn't make sense to have it exist in that same form. So it's all going to have to adapt. But there are antiquated rules that are keeping it from doing that yet. But if Bally can't pay and the teams feel like they can go to other resources to get their games broadcast, maybe we get there sooner than later.
875 KTGR talking Cardinals and honestly Royals too, with what they might have to try and figure out themselves because they're wrapped up in it as well. Another one of those joint venture teams that's considered by Diamond Sports. So we'll see what they decide to do.
And I'm not a writer covering the Royals to know how their front office and ownership group has been aware of these, but I imagine other teams are doing what the Cardinals have been doing of like prepping to make sure they've got a plan. But I think the Cardinals are going to be closer to the forefront than most other teams because they've known for a number of years this was coming. I just don't know if they're quite ready to do it yet in 2025.